Rory, nice to have you today. We're going to kind of change the pace a little bit. Well, Rory, we do have a prediction model that BizNews Premium subscribers are busy with. And on that one, I've got the Scots losing, but not by much. What's given your affection for the team and inside knowledge? Is it going to be a really tough game?
I think it's going to be a very tough first half, Alec. I think I'm expecting it to go much along the lines of what happened at the World Cup, where the Scots were within 3 points at half-time. But the strength of that South African bench is always going to tell, I believe. So I've gone on our predictor, on the BizNews Sports predictor, I've gone the Boks by 10. Okay,
so a little bit more conservative than Rob Hersov and Magnus Haystack, but definitely still the Boks to win. We'll talk a bit more about rugby in a moment, but one of the other reason why I asked you to come on this morning is the Comrades Marathon. We followed that story some months ago where there were special meetings, and thank you for sharing the photographs at the time, and the whole BizNews tribe got into this in a big way, and we're very upset that the Comrades Marathon was appearing to have been hijacked by nefarious interests. Can you just give us a little bit of background on what has happened since then?
Yes, certainly. So since that special general meeting, when Comrades members had kind of said, okay, we've had enough now, and we need to get a board in place that will take the Comrades Marathon forward. Alec, the big thing is that in 2 years' time, the 2027 running of the Comrades Marathon will be the 100th edition. So it began in 1921 with a returning World War I veteran wanting to establish a physical challenge that would be tough enough to honor his comrades that fell in the Great War. So it's a marathon that has a lot of history, a lot of ethos, fantastic values, and it honors those men and women who gave their lives. Now, COVID and the Second World War prevented the running of the race for some of those years. So 2027 is the 100th running of the Comrades Marathon. And it's really being run along amateur lines, Alec. It's a wonderful property. It's the greatest ultra marathon in the world. We need to modernize it. We need to get proper commercial rights in place. We need people that are really up with the latest technology, community involvement, major sports event management processes. We need that kind of expertise now to step in, and not just for 2027, but may 2027 be the starting point that takes the Comrades Marathon really forward into where it should be amongst the world's great races. You know, some of the people that we've been speaking to since that special general meeting are saying that, you know, you look at the London Marathon, the New York Marathon, Berlin, Tokyo, and now Sydney has just joined the Abbott's World Marathon Majors. Those races, the preparation for, you know, the one race starts 18 months before, so 6 months before you even run this year's version, you're planning next year already. And that's where we need to take Comrades. It's too special a South African treasure, not for that not to happen. I mean, 20,000 people enter that race every year. Other ultramarathons get a field of a few hundred, you know, and it's just too important. So what have we done? So a group of people came together after that special general meeting, and we've called ourselves the Comrades Collective. I've just sent you a press release that went out either late last night or early this morning, where we are saying that we're putting forward a certain number of candidates. We have got 10 in the collective. They're on 7 board positions of the 9 board positions up for election at the AGM on the 30th of November, Alec. And we would like the BizNews tribe and all of your good forces to spread that word far and wide, that we now have online voting and online attendance of the AGM. And we just want to vote people in who have the interests of that great race at heart, not their own interests. We don't say that everybody involved on the Comrades board or with the staff of the Comrades Marathon Association, we're not saying that they're all bad apples, but we are saying that there are some bad apples and they need to go. And we need to vote in people that want nothing other than to serve that race and work with the good people in the Comrades Marathon Association, on its board, its staff, and its volunteers, and say, guys, let's take hands. We've got only 2 years until the 100th edition, and we want a proper board in place with proper expertise to take this race to where it should be. We want to professionalize it, and we want it to continue to be, the greatest ultramarathon in the world. And a day, Alec, I've run 12 of those things. I cannot tell you, it's like what the Springbok team has done for our country over the past 6 or 7 years. That day, the whole day, you experience that. It is South Africa at her finest, where status, class, wealth, skin color, religion, none of that matters. You're on the road with 20,000 other people, and the man next to you or the woman on the other side of you is as tired and as exhausted as you are, but you get this thing done together. And it is an incredible celebration of who we are as South Africa, and that needs to continue.
Now, Rory, the tribe know you as being Nelson Mandela's bodyguard, and then what they don't know is that you have a global business, a multinational business. And that multinational business does do a lot of work in sport. So I'm sure you've got insights that you could support here, the Comrades Collective. Are you standing for election as well to the board?
I am, Alec. Our business is where it is at the moment. We have a young CEO that has the energy that I had 20 years ago, who runs the business on a day-to-day basis. I'm still involved in the business. I have the network. I do business development and I have the client base, but I also have a little bit more time now. And if there's anything that I can do, I'm certainly not, the business mind, that can crunch numbers and sign commercial rights and all that sort of thing, although I understand commercial rights. But if there's any contribution that I can make, and safety and security is obviously a concern, but just from, a board is kind of the protector of whatever property they are the board of. And if I can contribute in any way to that, Alec, my concern truly is the values, the history, the genesis, the ethos of the Comrades Marathon. That's hugely important to me. And if I can make a contribution, I would love to do that. So I have put my hand up, and if you look on that list of nominees, I am one of them because a number of people approached me. I think I was proposed by none other than the Comrades King himself. So Fordyce his signature is on the form proposing my board membership. And if I can contribute, I would love to, Alec, because it's too important for me that race fails in any way, shape, or form.
Well, you've got a bit of good news. Rob Hersoff says he will help as well if needed.
Oh,
Magnus,
Thank you, Rob.
is this a challenge for you and I to get into shape and to actually run next year?
100%. Peter Pollock said a few years ago, every South African.
Magnus, fortunately, we muted Rory there, but he said something about every South African should participate at some point.
Yeah, should run Comrades at least once in their lifetime, and it's a goal to strive for. If you can't run it, become a volunteer. Volunteer your time. It's an incredible day out. Honestly, one of the most beautiful parts of our country, that route through the Valley of 1,000 Hills takes your breath away, man.
Oh, KZN is magnificent as a banana boy. I understand that. But okay, so let's move on to rugby now, because this is something that's imminent, more than the 100th anniversary. How did Kyle, your son, who's a brilliant player, end up playing for the Glasgow Warriors, where he was the captain, I see, until he got injured, and for Scotland? Why didn't he come and play for the Boks?
Well, he could have played for either, but the reason he plays now for Glasgow Warriors in Scotland is because I married well. So my wife Jill was born in Scotland, in Glasgow, in the 60s, and she came to South Africa when her father, a civil engineer, immigrated when South Africa needed professional skills. He put his hand up. He had, at that stage, 2 young daughters, got on a boat, came out here, lived in Hillbrow, as most immigrants did, and had a further 2 daughters here. So my wife is the second born of 2 girls, but having been born in Scotland, she and all 3 of our boys have British as well as South African citizenship. Kyle then went to school in Joburg, not a school with any rugby legacy or history, but he absolutely loved the game. And he said to us, he got a good matric. He said to us, Mum and Dad, I want to go to Stellenbosch University. So we said, well, what are you going to study? He said, I don't know, and it doesn't matter. I want to play rugby. It's the best university, rugby university in the country. He went there from this unknown little English private school in Joburg, standing there with all the Paul Roos Gymnasium and the Grey College Craven Week players and the Paul Boys High and Paul Gym. And he said, I'm going to make that side. He did. He made the varsity cup side. He made the first team. And then his coach at the time said, I need you for one more season. And he was doing a second postgraduate degree when that same coach called him and said, look, I've got a call from the coach of Greek was down the road. They need a 13 who can cover wing and fullback, and they need an 8th man who can cover 7 flank. And he called these 2 boys in, both of them English speaking, and they both said yes, and they went down to Griquas. So Kyle played 2 seasons for Griqualand West, or Griquas, in the Currie Cup, 2017 and 2018. 2018, he captained Griquas. When they got to the playoff stages, the semi-finals of the Currie Cup, Griquas were out of contention. And by then, Gregor Townsend, the current Scottish coach, then the Glasgow Warriors coach, had come to South Africa to watch the Cheetahs play in Bloemfontein, because the following week, Glasgow were coming out to play the Cheetahs in what was then the Pro 14, the forerunner of the URC as it is now. And having a beer after the game with a commentator, this guy said to Gregor, kind of as an off-the-cuff comment, do you know that there's a boy down the road here, a couple of 100 Ks in Kimberley, who's Scottish qualified? And that's how it happened. The next thing, the phone rang and they said, tell us more. Do you have a British passport? Yes, I do. Well, would you consider coming over and playing a trial for Scotland Sevens? So that's what he did. And then he went to Vegas and Vancouver, played Scottish Sevens, and then Glasgow Warriors had a few injuries in their back 3, the wings and fullbacks. They said, come and fill in, because all rugby players in Scotland are centrally contracted by the Scottish Rugby Union. They follow the All Black model. They're centrally, not franchise contracted. Said, we need a bit of backup in the back 3 at Glasgow. And, you know, he just grabbed those opportunities, as he has done at every stage that he stepped up, from schoolboy to varsity, to Currie Cup, to international Sevens, to the URC, and now to full-blown international rugby. I mean, I think he's sitting on 22 or 23 caps around there, 11 or 12 international tries. And, you know, we're tremendously proud of him. He has just single-mindedly followed this desire to be the best rugby player that he can be. And, you know, Alec, they won the URC, beating the Bulls at Loftus. He gets to lift that trophy. He's right at the top of his game. First 2 games of the URC, he scores 3 tries and he's flying, and then he gets this clumsy blooming tackle in the air and fractures his fibula. Apparently, Gregor had told him he was starting all 4 of these internationals in the autumn. I know he desperately wanted to play the Springboks, but, you know, professional rugby is such that you got to take the highs with the lows. And, you know, I said, my boy, you got to look on the bright side. The autumn internationals are really, they're important, but they're not important as important as the Six Nations. You know, there's a British Lions tour next year. And he said, I know, Dad, but I don't want to hear that now. Give me 48 hours just to deal with this disappointment. So he's sitting back in Glasgow with his wife and our granddaughter, and he is recovering from the surgery he had. And we'll see them at Christmas, where the whole family is going to across to Scotland. My wife booked a little B&B in St Andrews somewhere. And then the Glasgow-Edinburgh derby, Alec, which is a proper derby, is always played on the 2 Saturdays either side of Christmas. So the Glasgow one will be at Hampden Park, you know, the ground where Scottish football play their internationals, and the Edinburgh leg will be at Murrayfield. And we're probably expecting 30 to 40,000 spectators at both those games, and hopefully he'll be able to play at least one of them if his recovery, goes to plan, and the whole family will be there to see it. So it's not all a downer when you get an injury like that. Yeah.
Rory Steyn, what a lovely story. And Rory, a very loyal and strong member of the BizNews tribe, bringing us up to date on the Comrades, where if you followed the story, you'll know that Rory will be a very good member of that board, as well as his son Kyle, who, as mentioned, was the captain of the Glasgow Warriors when they beat the mighty Bulls in the URC final last year. It's been such a pleasure to be with you today on the BizNews Briefing. We look forward to being back in your company again on Monday. From the team of technical producer Ruan Erasmus, our executive producer Lucy Ferreira, and yours truly, Alec Hogg. Until the next time, it's cheerio and have a fabulous weekend.